Crimson pooled on the cold stone. Prince Ren, 21, lay dying in a forgotten corridor of the palace. The hooded assassin's footsteps faded into the dark.
So this is how the laughingstock prince dies. Not even a witness.
A silver flash sliced through the dark, and then whiteness consumed everything. He woke gasping, heart slamming against his ribs, in a bed he hadn't slept in for 5 years.
My chest. There's no wound, no blood. I am alive? This room. It's my old chamber. And these hands.
His reflection in the polished mirror showed a pale silver-haired boy of 16.
I am younger, but my hands remember something they've never done.
Without thought, his body dropped into a lethal sword guard, a stance only the Sword Saint had ever perfected.
Who killed me? And why do I now carry the soul of the man I was supposed to become?
The next morning, Ren was pulled to the training yard. Hayato and Kato and Gradix Kato already owned the sand, their wooden swords cracking the air with perfect rhythm.
Look, the paper prince still bothers to carry a sword. Mind if I remind you which end is sharp?
Better let him fall quickly, Hayato. We have a crowd today.
My body remembers every block, every riposte. I could break his guard in one breath.
Hayato lunged with a crushing overhead blow, and for a heartbeat, Ren's blade rose in perfect counter. A sliver of the Sword Saint bled through. Then, Ren's grip faltered, on purpose. He let the sword spin away and crashed onto the stone. The courtyard erupted in laughter.
That block was flawless. And then he collapsed like a marionette with cut strings. What are you hiding, little brother?
Oh, Ren, please, be careful.
High on the royal balcony, King Aldrich watched without a flicker of sympathy. His gaze was a ledger, marking another unpaid debt.
Laugh all you want. As long as they see a weakling, I can hunt the real enemy in the dark.
That night, while the palace slept, Ren slipped into the darkened forest. The moon was thin, but his purpose was sharp, alone among the pines. He moved through sword forms that no 16-year-old in the kingdom had any right to know. The air hummed with each strike.
How long have you been lying, Ren?
Lying? I'm just practicing. It's nothing.
That block against Hayato wasn't nothing. And these forms, I've seen old masters do less.
What do you know about the prophecy Father fears? The one the old seer spoke.
Mira's sardonic mask slipped. For the first time, Ren saw unease in her sharp eyes.
He burns every mention of it. But lately, someone's been asking, discreetly, about the Silver Sun and the Crimson King.
Silver Sun. That could be me. And the Crimson King. Father. So the prophecy is real.
Careful, Ren. You are not the only one playing a role in this court.
3 nights later, the great hall roared with a state banquet. King Aldrich rose, his goblet tolling silence across the court.
Henceforth, every military command must bear my personal seal. I will trust no one else with my kingdom.
Beside him, Queen Seraphina's hand quivered. A thin trail of wine spilled down the crystal.
She isn't shaking from surprise. She's been dreading this.
When the banquet ended, Ren slipped into the servants' corridors. Up ahead, Seraphina hurried like a ghost.
A hooded courier. She's receiving orders, not giving them.
The courier pressed a scroll into her hands and melted into the shadows. She broke the wax, her breath catching. Her eyes traced the message, and her face drained of all color. It was not anger, it was despair.
She's a puppet, and whoever holds the strings is close enough to hang her.
Ren didn't confront her. He slipped away, but the image of her broken expression followed him into the dark. Over the weeks, Ren lost every public duel. Each defeat was more theatrical, a stumble, a dropped sword, a collapse in the sand.
The paper prince tastes sand again. At this rate, even the kitchen maids will outrank him.
Let them coin 1,000 nicknames. Each one buys me another hour unobserved.
While the court giggled, Ren slipped deeper into the restricted wings. The old archive tower held secrets the king thought buried. Behind a crumbling partition, his fingers found a half-burned scroll. Charred edges, faded ink, unmistakably the script of the king. The surviving words read, "The Silver Sun shall cast down the Crimson King."
The same words Mira whispered. Father didn't just fear this prophecy, he tried to erase it.
A cold truth settled in his bones. The king he called father had been plotting against him long before the assassin's blade.
If he'd burn a prophecy, he'd burn a son. I am not hunting a stranger. I am hunting my own blood.
Ren tucked the fragment into his tunic. The paper prince had his first real weapon. One afternoon, Lena found Ren alone at the well, dabbing a split lip with a wet cloth.
Ren, please stop fighting them. Every duel leaves you bleeding. I can't bear it.
Lena, I know you're scared, but I can't stop yet. I promise you, I'm not as weak as they think. I can't tell her the truth. Not until I'm sure she's safe from the people who killed me once.
Soon, the line of succession will be corrected. The weakling won't block our way much longer.
They're talking about removing me. Father's seal will make it legal, and the banquet will be his trap.
At dawn, Ren climbed the east tower. A pigeon fluttered onto the ledge, the wax seal bearing the king's ring. He slipped the message from its tube. His father's seal, identical to the one on the prophecy fragment, confirmed the sender. The words were blunt. Prepare the banquet cup. The silver pledge must be swallowed.
A poison cup, and she will be the one to offer it. Seraphina. I have to stop her before she destroys herself.
The same night, Ren slipped into the king's private study. The door's wards were old. He disabled them with a trick from a dead future. The study smelled of old wax and ink. A massive desk waited under guttering candles. Secrets buried in its belly. His fingers found a false bottom. Inside lay letters sealed with a guild's mark, a coiled serpent wrapped around a broken crown. The letters detailed a blood pact. Each page bore his father's handwriting, arranging payment for a life. The life of a silver-haired claimant.
He hired the same guild that trained my killer. The serpent's fang was bought with royal gold.
Beneath the parchments, a sketch, the hooded courier who delivered orders to Seraphina, identical to the figure she had met.
Father didn't just use the assassins, he directed them. Every piece clicks.
He took a single letter, enough proof, but the drawer's mechanism snapped back, and a magical rune flared alive beneath his hand. Boots thundered in the corridor. Ren vaulted through the window, landing in the garden shadows an instant before torches flooded the room.
They know an intruder was here, but not who. I am a ghost, with a stolen truth, and the king will tear the castle apart to find me.
By dawn, the castle bristled with armed men. Every corridor echoed with the hunt for the thief who had breached the king's sanctum. Ren stumbled out of the servants' wing, feigning terror, and was immediately conscripted into the search.
The chaos is my mask. Now, where is Seraphina?
He found her in her chambers, standing pale and motionless by the window as if awaiting an executioner. She tried to push him back toward the door, but he thrust the stolen letter into her hands. As her eyes traced the Serpent Guild's damning words, a broken sob escaped her.
He threatened to execute Mira and Lena. I had no choice. I am his poisoner, but his hands are the ones that kill.
Keep playing your part. Follow his orders. Serve the cup. But at the tournament, I will end this. Trust me.
He will kill you too, Ren. I have seen his rage. You cannot be a lamb walking into his slaughter.
I died once already. I will not let it happen again, and I will not let him destroy you.
In a secluded corner of the East Wing, Ren gathered Mira and Lena not to spar, but to see.
This court is a stage of blades, words as sharp as swords. You need to see the lies before they draw blood.
Teaching us to be paranoid. Finally, a lesson worth my time.
I will try my best. I don't want to be a weakness anymore.
That night, Ren slipped into the lower city. Hammer's forge still burned late, an old smith loyal not to the crown, but to blood. The smith pressed a crescent-shaped silver mask into Ren's palms, and a cloak woven from shadow. 3 days later, a masked swordsman signed the city's seasonal tourney. The ledger recorded a single name, Phantom. 3 veteran duelists fell in seconds. The crowd didn't even cheer at first. They gaped, then erupted. The city whispered of a phantom swordsman. Spies sent their reports to the king, but never connected the ghost to the paper prints.
Let them chase shadows. Soon, this phantom will walk into the king's own trap and spring it in his face.
The royal herald's proclamation echoed from the capital ramparts, a grand tournament to honor the crown's strength. Hayato and Kaito strutted like champions elect.
Finally, a stage worthy of our steel. The kingdom will see who truly deserves the throne.
That evening, the family gathered in the great hall. Candles flickered as King Aldrich raised his goblet.
To the future, may the true heir prove his worth before all.
Seraphina's hand shook as she lifted her glass. The clink of crystal murmured a death sentence.
He's toasting the murder he's already arranged, and she can barely hold the cup.
Later, in a shadowed servants' hall, Ren met Seraphina. He pressed a small glass vial into her palm, colored water.
Replace the poison. Everyone will see you pour it. I'll handle the rest.
What will you do when he sees you? If you fail, he'll kill us all.
I will give them a performance no one can ignore. Trust me.
The night before the tournament, a shadow moved through the forest. Not Ren the prince, but the phantom, his prey, a hooded figure, sent to silence Mira. The assassin lunged with a serpent blade. Ren's parry was a whisper of steel, and the man crashed to his knees, weapon spinning away. The assassin spat out the words, "The king's blood seal commands, silence the silver-eyed one before the cup." Then he fell silent, expecting death. Ren let the blade hover, then withdrew it. He took the sealed parchment from the man's belt and vanished into the dark, the assassin alone, alive. Later, in a deserted corridor of the castle, Ren handed Mira the blood-sealed order. Her fingers trembled as she broke the wax. The words were stark. Silence the silver-eyed threat before the tournament cup finds his lips.
So father wants to kill you twice, once with poison, once with steel. He's not even pretending anymore.
He planned layers. The poison is theater, a distraction while the real blade follows. But he doesn't know the phantom is real.
How do you survive both, Ren? You can't be two places at once.
By becoming the monster he fears. The phantom that strikes before the king can even signal his hidden blades.
The next morning, a servant summoned Ren to the throne room. King Aldrich waited alone, sunlight falling cold through the high windows.
You've been quieter lately, boy. Perhaps you finally understand your place. I suggest you forgo the tournament. Why embarrass yourself and this family further?
Ren bowed his head, a perfect picture of shame. His voice was soft, grateful.
Of course, father. I wouldn't dream of competing. I am grateful for your wisdom.
Aldrich's smirk faltered. He had expected resistance. As Ren shuffled backward, the king's muttered words chased him.
A pity. The poison would have been poetic.
He said it aloud. The mask is slipping even without me.
That evening, a cloaked figure pressed a seal to the tournament ledger. The registrar's eyes bulged at the name. The registrar's quill shivered. The phantom, you are entering the royal tourney?
Let them wonder. I've already been invited to my own murder.
In her moonlit chamber, Ren closed Seraphina's fingers around a slender silver necklace. A tiny crystal dangled, pulsing with faint light.
If the worst happens, smash the crystal. It will release the king's own voice, proof of your innocence.
Seraphina stared at the jewel, then at the boy who should have been her enemy. Her composure shattered.
Ren, my son, I will not fail you.
She pulled him into a fierce embrace. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, Ren felt not like a prince, but a son. Hours later, Ren walked alone through the tournament grounds. The empty arena loomed under the stars.
That masked coward won't last 10 seconds against me. I'll carve my name on his mask.
Save some sport for me. I want to hear him beg before the final cut. Across the grounds, Mira's silhouette watched. She caught Ren's eye and gave a single steady nod, then melted into the shadows. The tournament morning sun blazed. Hayato crushed 3 challengers in under a minute, the crowd chanting his name.
Where is the masked coward? Face me if you dare.
A cloaked figure emerged from the shadows. The phantom strode onto the sand, silver mask glinting. Hayato launched his signature overhead slash, the exact blow that had humiliated Ren numberless times. But Phantom wasn't there. One sidestep, a tap of steel, and Ren's blade kissed Hayato's throat. The arena fell into breathless silence. Thousands of people, and not a single sound. The impossible had happened.
That's impossible.
Hayato's knees buckled. His sword slid from numb fingers, and he stared up at the mask, lost and humiliated, high in the royal box. King Aldrich's knuckles went white on the armrest. His glare promised a sharper kind of blood.
One down. But the real monster hasn't bared its fangs yet.
Before the announcer could draw breath, Kaito vaulted over the railing, white-lipped and silent, his rapier already seeking Phantom's eye. Ren's blade met his with a screech of sparks. He flowed like water, one parry, then Phantom vanished from Kaito's line. Kaito whirled, too slow. A tap behind his knee, and the rapier spun glittering through the air. He crashed onto his back in the sand. The mask had shifted. A sliver of jaw, pale and sharp, was visible beneath the silver.
You fight for pride, brother. I fight for the dead.
That cadence. I've heard it before. But where? Kaito's stunned face searched the mask, recognition clawing at his mind but finding no purchase. High above, King Aldrich rose. With a flick of his hand, the shadows behind the royal box stirred. Hidden guards sliding steel free of leather. The king's hand dropped, and a dozen storm eyes fixed on the arena. The trap was shifting from poison to blade.
They're coming, but I haven't shown them the real monster yet.
Before the guards could leap, Ren's hand closed on the silver mask and tore it away. The phantom was gone. Crown Prince Ren stood in the sand. Gasps ripped through the stands. The paper prince, the laughingstock, was the swordsman who humiliated both royal champions in seconds.
You look surprised, father. Did you think your poison would work? Or did you expect your assassin's blade to find me before I could speak?
In the royal box, Seraphina stood frozen, her hands clasped white-knuckled before her. The arena's eyes divided between father and son.
Seize the traitor. He conspired with foreign assassins to usurp the throne.
Ren lifted a parchment high. The king's serpent guild seal caught the light, the same seal on the death order. In his other hand, a letter stolen from the king's own drawer, the blood pact with the assassins who killed him in another life.
These carry your seal, your majesty. Your own hand ordered the death of the silver-haired son you feared would fulfill the prophecy.
The court erupted. Nobles shouted accusations. Commoners cried for justice. The arena had become a throne room of chaos, and Ren stood at its center. Aldrich's face twisted. He ripped a hidden dagger from his sash and leaped from the royal box, screaming of the prophecy. Ren caught the king's wrist, twisted, and the dagger spun across the sand. A sword saint lock forced Aldrich to his knees.
You feared a prophecy of a silver sun dethroning you, so you tried to kill your heir before he could speak.
The arena held its breath. The king's heaving rage was the only answer. Then Seraphina descended the royal steps, her voice brittle but clear over the silence.
He threatened my daughters. I was his puppet. Hear his own words.
She hurled the crystal to the stone. It shattered, and a shimmering image rose, Aldrich's own voice hissing the commands Ren had read. The recording repeated. Prepare the banquet cup. The silver pledge must be swallowed. The queen sank to her knees, tears carving paths through dust. The king's own magic condemned him before all, and in the center of the arena, Ren stood over his father, sword still drawn, waiting for the kingdom to decide its own justice. Slowly, Ren slid his silver blade back into its sheath. The sound echoed across the silent arena.
I will not become the prophecy's tyrant. I spare my stepmother, who was only his victim, and I exile my father. Not for revenge, but so this kingdom can heal.
The arena erupted. Nobles cheered, commoners screamed justice, and the noise swallowed Aldrich's curses. Guards seized the deposed king, clamping irons on his wrists. Aldrich thrashed, but the chains held. As he was dragged away, Mira descended the stone steps, her gaze locked on Ren. She took his sword hand and raised it high. The people's roar became a single triumphant name above the arena. The heavy clouds tore open. A blade of sunlight fell onto the sand. In that light, the weakest prince stood as the world watched, no longer a victim. In the throne room, Seraphina approached the dais where Ren waited. She sank to her knees, lowering her forehead to the cold marble.
I surrender the regency. I have no right to stand beside you after what my hands were forced to do.
You were never my enemy. Rise, and help me rule with truth.
From a velvet cushion, Ren raised a delicate co-regent crown and settled it upon her silver hair. Beside them, Lena pressed a handkerchief to her trembling mouth. Joy and sorrow mingled on her face.
He actually did it. The weakling became the shield.
Hayato and Kaito, still bearing tournament bruises, stood at the side. Their eyes met Ren's for a breath, then dropped in grudging silence. The court herald stepped forward, unrolling a golden scroll. His voice filled the hall. Thus begins the reign of Crown Prince Ren and co-regent Queen Seraphina, a covenant of truth. In the gentle light, Seraphina reached for Ren's hand and held it like a lifeline. The kingdom exhaled. Evening gilded the capital. Ren stood alone on the palace balcony, watching the sun bleed amber into the rooftops. Soft footsteps, and Seraphina joined him, her co-regent crown catching the last rays. She didn't speak at first.
Did you ever truly fear dying at 21, Ren?
Those same hands, once pressed against a cold wound in the dark. I feared not being alive while I lived. The laughter, the disdain, that was a slower death.
But you came back, and you chose to live for others.
She rested her hand on his arm, and together they watched the city begin to glow. Below, lanterns sparked one by one across the streets. The first peaceful night the kingdom had seen in years.
This is what I fought for. Not revenge, but this light.
The sunset faded to a velvet blue, and the crown prince stood in the quiet, finally whole. Months later, the courtyard rang with the clack of wooden swords. Ren, in plain tunic, circled Hayato and Kaito with a teacher's patience.
Almost had you that time.
You are learning to read, not just to strike. That's the difference.
He's not humiliating us. He's training us.
Go, Ren. You are all so much better.
Kaito, your footwork is still lazy. Don't make me come down there.
From the high window of the throne room, Seraphina watched. A soft smile touched her lips. The swordsman who once died to an assassin had not returned to conquer. He had returned to let everyone, even his enemies, learn to live. Lena cheered, Mira scoffed, and the courtyard echoed with a sound it had long forgotten. Belonging, and high above, the Queen Mother's smile held. The kingdom was healing. In the stillness, Ren rested his blade's tip on the stone. Banner shadows stretched long across the sand. His hand closed over the pommel, a silver crescent catching the last gold of the sun. Behind him, the royal banner rippled, crimson and gold snapping in a clean wind. The blade's edge gleamed, holding the light like an answer to a dark prophecy. Beneath the image, a golden ribbon unspooled, words born of a journey through death. The weakest prince became the world's #1 sword master, not through blood, but through a second life. The ribbon settled, a quiet testament to the sword master who returned to teach, not conquer. For a long moment, the image held, banner, blade, prince, like a painting in the wind. Then the light dimmed slowly. The edges dissolved into a soft, forgiving darkness. The screen faded to black, and the legend of the weakest prince was sealed.